That sounds about right.
All right, welcome to Mind Explorers, episode 36, where we're joined by a special guest that I met in the hot tub, Brady McLean from Go Fast, Don't Die and The Only Co. Welcome, Brady.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm stoked.
Yeah, from all the way from Sheridan, Wyoming.
Yeah, and I actually am in Sheridan again. I was on the road, so I thought I was going to have to jump in. Then I came into our little studio here, so here I am. And you guys are in
Sweet.
Sandy, right?
Sandy, Utah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, pretty
Very nice.
similar
Well, thank you
climate.
guys for having me.
A little bit cooling down. It's starting to cool down. Is it cooling down up there?
Dude, no, not at all, actually. I wore a sweater today to the gym, and when I left the gym, I was like, dude, why is it 90 degrees right now?
It's
Wow.
80s here. It's not cold.
Yeah, we've been in the 80s, and at night it's getting down into the 50s, and all the leaves are changing. It's wild.
It's nice.
It is, the leaves are changing. So I do photography as well. So I've been up in the mountains quite a bit shooting because it's just, there's like a 2 week window in Wyoming where it's just absolutely gorgeous. Just
Yep.
all the colors. You still got some greens, but you get everything else. So yeah, I've been hanging out in the mountains a lot lately.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Are you from Wyoming?
Yep. Born and raised, probably going to die here.
That's awesome.
I travel like probably 6, 7 for the past 5 years. I've probably traveled 6, 7 months out of the year.
Wow.
And I come home to Wyoming. So I'm pretty much either in Wyoming or everywhere else.
Yeah, I get that. Being born and raised in Utah, I've been all over the world and had plenty of opportunities to move different places, and I always come back to why I like it here.
Yeah, I think, what's really cool about living in one place, or people who have lived in one place at least for a long time, if not their whole lives, is it seems like in a community, this is obviously, there are exceptions to every rule, but in a community where it's a relatively small community, with which everything in Wyoming is like that, and I really think everywhere is like that. You have big cities, but there are small communities within big cities.
Yep.
But someone who stays in a smaller community for a long time, it's usually like, if you're an asshole, you can't stay.
Right.
And if you're not, you can stay, right?
Right.
And so like there's some level of like, if one person has been in one place for a really long time, they're probably all right.
Yeah.
To some level, they're probably all right.
Interesting.
That's a good point. You got to watch out for the people who are moving around all the time.
Yeah. I'll have to think
Yeah,
about
well,
that
yeah, or at least you go why,
Right.
Well, and I think one of the things that's cool about living in Wyoming is like, even yesterday I went to the bank, and it was hilarious because there's a lady at the bank who, like, her son gave me my first Limp Bizkit CD.
Wow.
Right? Like I've known her since I was in grade school, but I went in and I didn't have my ID, and the other lady was like, "Oh, I need your physical ID to, do the banking we were trying to do." And I was just like, man. And then I went to, the other bank that I bank at, and my sister works there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love just like, when you go back, like, people kind of know you, like, people, they either know that you're awesome, or at least, like, if you haven't been awesome, they know what kind of not awesome. Like, I
Right.
caused trouble when I was a kid, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I've been rock solid since then, and so they
Yeah.
know, like, oh, he's mischievous, but he's a good kid, good parents, solid this, solid that. So there's a lot of questions answered sort of right away, right? That's
Yeah.
your brand is already sort of established,
Yeah.
and you don't have to kind of reestablish your brand.
Yeah.
That's what I like about small
Makes
towns
sense,
and
yeah.
staying in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people doing that on like social media now too, is like establishing them as a brand. Like, you're not just a person on Facebook, like you're kind of like representing yourself on social media now, which I think is like kind of changing the times, because like you now have like your physical image, your physical self, and then now you have this internet presence as well, and it's equally as important, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because we've had this marketing agency, OnlyCo, formerly was Flood Marketing, and branding. Like, brand is my thing. Like, I love people, I love culture, I love community, I love communication. Like, I love helping people tell their story. And I think what I used to tell people was like, hey, your brand as your business is basically like, your logo is sort of your face. That's what people see right away. but your brand is every interaction anyone has ever had with your organization.
Yep.
And so, like, I always used to equate, when you go to the coffee shop and someone sees you, how do they feel? Are they excited to see you? Do they want to buy you a coffee? Do they wish you wouldn't have walked in, kind of thing? Like, that's your brand. And I always would like go to this coffee shop kind of personal example. And now it's sort of the opposite, right? Like, people are sort of making their personal brand sort of from what they used to think is like a business thing, And yeah, exactly what you're saying. Everyone's saying we have a personal brand and it really matters. And it's true. It really does.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so storytelling. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into storytelling and branding.
I think, I guess I've sort of always, I've always cared about the story. I think for me, success for me is like on your very last breath in the world, you like think about your story, the story that you've lived, and you smile about it. You don't go, dang it, I
Right.
should have done it differently, right?
Yeah.
And so, when we started OnlyCo, which was which flood marketing before it was OnlyCo, but when we started the agency, originally we were just social media marketers, and we were running this, campaign to get people like, hey, your business should be on this thing called Facebook.
Right.
And everyone's like, no, that's all a trend, and
Yeah.
we're not going to spend a bunch of money to be on Facebook. But we said, no, trust me, you can reach more people for free
Yep.
than you could possibly reach for any amount of money on the radio. Like,
Yep.
everyone's getting on it. You're going to notice. And little by little, we'd have these conversations, and some were months and some were even years. But eventually they would come to us and they would all go, hey, you were right about this. Can you guys hear that? It's so funny. They're doing massive construction on the other side of this wall.
Oh, really? No,
No.
your mic is good. Yeah.
As soon as I sat down, I was like, oh no, this is going to be terrible. And they like dropped something. And
No,
anyway,
you've got a good mic. Yeah.
if you can't tell, I'm as ADHD as they come, by the way.
Yeah, it's most entrepreneurs are.
Especially in marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, well, I am. Yeah, I'm a special case. It's actually funny when my mom took me in, and she was sort of like nervous. When I was in high school, she took me into the doctor, and the doctor had gone to our church, like, grew up like watched me from a little kid, and she was like, hey, Brady's he struggles to pay attention in school, and he gets off task and blah, blah, blah. And I'd like to have him tested for ADHD. And the doctor actually laughed out loud when she said that. She's like, he's the poster child for ADHD. Like, we don't have to do any tests. We're good.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, we started a social media marketing business. And then people would come to, I think that the agency world has become like, when people hear marketing agency, for me, when I hear marketing agency, I do not think like, oh, I could trust them,
Right.
or like, they're going to be great. Right. For a lot of people have had the experience where they're like, we spent a ton of money. We have no idea. We have this logo that looks like our old logo, like that half of us like and half of us don't like. Me and Jeff actually got in a fight over it. Now, like, people think like that, and they thought like that. And so when we pitch them on social media and just on Facebook, which is all it was back then, and then they would realize, no, you were right, and you've been telling me for a long time that I should do this. And then as soon as we did it, they had great success with it, and they're like, dang it, we should have listened to them. There's just a level of trust that gets established, especially when someone doubts you and you stick to your guns, and then they get on your team. They're like, okay, I can trust them with the next thing.
Right.
And that's really how we started growing, is people trusted us, and they said, hey, can you build us a website? Hey, can you help us with this ad? Can you help us rebrand? Can you help us? We have a problem. We don't even understand how to fix it, but nobody knows about us. Or, people think we're this, but we're actually this, this, and this. And that's really how we started. And that's how we started growing. And we really grew to a point of like, we started doing everything, being sort of a full service agency. And part of that was people were trying to figure out how to tell their story. And that part for me it pulls at my heartstrings. Like that's the thing that I really care about. I think we all have a calling. I think we all have something that we're supposed to be doing. And I think success is when we're in alignment with that calling,
Yeah.
and storytelling, I just think that's a huge part of it. So when we started Go Fast, Don't Die, Go Fast, Don't Die was sort of, we had an agency. So we had this saying within my family, go fast, don't die, instead of like, have fun, be safe, or wear your helmet or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And originally, kind of the idea there was like with everything, the go fast part is like go do the thrill, obviously, but mind the cliffs, right? Kind of find your edge and live there. And go fast. When I got divorced, I was just, it was really bad. It was really, really bad. And I was kind of just like just my soul felt just yanked. I was like, nothing matters, what? I don't care about this business. I don't care about growth. I just, whatever. And I had a motorcycle and I got on the bike and just kind of took off, kind of with no plan. Found myself in Utah and then in Las Vegas and then in California and then rode down to Mexico and just put on, I think I put on 40,000 miles on my bike that year.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot of bike
And
miles.
it was like, yeah, I mean, I just lived on it, and I just was trying to work out. And there's something about this ADHD brain that I have with this sensitive heart that I have where when I was on a bike and my hands were busy and my eyes were kind of, having to watch the road, it like lined up the cogs in my brain to sort of process information. And I had a lot of stuff to process. Like, what does this mean for me? What do I do now? And through that process, I kind of was telling that story via social media, just kind of talking about like the road and just lessons I'm learning and things I'm realizing. And I'm like, man, my whole life's actually ahead of me. I was, in the winter of 2016, 17, I was as low as I could be. I was on rock bottom. And then in the summer of 2017, I'm having these realizations and having these experiences that I'm like, man, everybody needs to do this. I was holding myself back from a lot of things because, I was in a relationship where I didn't really feel safe to pursue things, or maybe more so that I felt like because I was in the relationship, I was going to go this way and it needed to be like this,
Right.
And anyway, I found a new passion for encouraging other people to live a great story with their life. And that was kind of the launch of Go Fast, Don't Die. So it was sort of off the back of this, you look at it and a lot of people are like, oh, like motorcycle lifestyle brand. And it's like, yes, but deeper than that, because a lot of people, what I learned, and I learned this from a lot of people on the road. One guy who was in Vegas, actually, that was one of the first guys who kind of pointed this out to me. I was in Vegas and I had just, I was staying right across the street from a place called Hogs and Heifers. Have you guys ever heard of this?
Maybe.
It's like a barbecue joint.
It's a biker bar,
Oh, okay.
and
No.
it's in Old Vegas, down on Fremont, off of Fremont
Yeah.
Street.
Oh, okay.
But I was staying right across from there, and I had, by the way, guys, like I did not have much money to my name, and I'd pretty much taken all that money, which is not very much, and turned it into cash, put it in my wallet, and left with it. Right.
Wow.
Well, I was riding and I got pulled over on an off ramp, and I got off the bike and got my wallet out, and I'm like, oh no! And this is, by the way, like now I've traveled hundreds of thousands of miles, but at that time, this is my first big foray into the big world, and I'm a small town Wyoming kid,
Yeah.
And so I got off and I gave him my information. He's like, "You were speeding," and I was like, "I'm so sorry," And I set my wallet down and I'm waiting for him. And they gave me my ID back. I put the ID back in my pocket and I went back to my hotel. And I got to my hotel, went to grab my wallet to get my key card,
Oh no.
Oh, no.
and it wasn't there. And I remembered like, oh yeah, I set it down on the back of my pack on my bike. So, and like, I'm telling you, like 15 yards down the off ramp, there was a little homeless encampment. Like, I'm like, for sure that wallet's gone. By the way, that's all my money. Like
Yeah.
that's to my name money, And I'm just, what am I doing out here? So I did not take the officer's request for me to slow down. I went as fast as that bike could go back to the place. I get there and the wallet's sitting on the ground. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I
Yeah.
picked it up, I rode back, and then I parked my bike and I sat on this bench, and it's right outside of Hogs and Heifers. My hotel was right outside. And I just sat there and kind of did this like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
Brady, you need to chill out and slow down. Like
Yeah.
you almost just, holy cow. And this guy who was sitting there in a do-rag, kind of your quintessential biker looking character, he goes, who hurt you? And I was like, and I looked over, I was like, are you talking to me? He's like, yeah, who hurt you? And I was like, I mean, I had just signed divorce papers, dropped them off, and got on my bike and left. So I'm in
Yeah.
like maximum reflection, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, is this guy an angel? You know, like, how does he know what's going on? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, is that your bike? And I looked and I was like, yeah. He's like, you're from Wyoming? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, are you by yourself? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, nobody would be this far away from home, packed up like that, all by themselves, sitting on a bench if something didn't happen. And I was just like, wow, that's incredible. You
Yeah.
know, like this biker type who I would have thought like the only words he knew was like Bud Light. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he just flocked me. And so I ended up having a chat with the guy and told him my whole story. I was like, well, I had some business partners that were my best friends. They had a falling out. My dog died. My wife left me. Like, you know, like my life has been a country song.
Yeah.
And he said, man, that sounds like a real heartbreaker tour. And I mentioned that I used to play in a punk band. So I always thought like my life would be touring. I thought, well, I'd be playing music and touring. So the idea of a tour or a themed tour really made sense. And I was like, man, my life has been kind of a heartbreaker tour for the last year and a half. I'd like the rest of my life to be a heart maker tour. And that moment, like that kind of thought was sort of, for me, the beginning of Go Fast, Don't Die. And encouraging, going out and having a brand where we encourage people like, hey, it doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be a certain way. You don't have to wear black. You don't have to ride a Harley. You can be exactly who you're called to be and live a great story with your life according to your own rubric. And that's been Go Fast ever since. And it grew a ton, you know, and now we have, gosh, I don't know, 150,000 customers and you know, we've connected with so many people, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome. And I think the success of Go Fast really helped with OnlyCo to be like, hey, storytelling really, really matters.
Yeah.
You know, this is so important. And so OnlyCo is able to kind of glean some of that importance and some of that recognition of like, wow, people's story really matters to them. I think you mentioned we were talking about A players in the hot tub.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned like, hey, yeah, we've got an A player who like we could probably never afford him, or like we could never give him enough to make him, you know, to bring him onto our organization.
Yep.
But he wants to be where we are. He wants to be a part of what we're doing. And with those people who can choose anything, the whole scope of the story really, really matters. And that's basically what OnlyCo, as far as what we're talking about with branded recruitment and all of that, that's basically what OnlyCo helps do. It's like, hey, here's our story, and tell that story in a way that gets people to hear that story and be like, I would like to be a part of that.
Yeah. So that's a great story, by the way. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
That was
very
That was,
powerful.
by the way, so much story. This is what
Yeah.
happens with me. I start yakking, dude, and I will keep going.
No, it was great. So I'm not going to tell the whole story, but we were out in the desert in Arizona doing a project once, and it was 120 degrees, and we were staking mining claims and hiking early in the company. So we took every project, no matter how dangerous, no matter how difficult. And it was Crystal and I, and we're out in the middle of the desert, and our only really lifeline is the rental truck so we can get back to the hotel and get water. And we had run out of water. It was 120. And we were driving an ATV around staking these claims, and somewhere during the 20 hours we were out working, the keys for the rental truck fell out of my pocket. And we had a similar situation where we were driving around and we just happened to, I saw like a soda can on the ground that caught my eye, and I looked over at it and I just happened to look down and see the keys and pick them up.
Gosh.
And it might have saved our lives because I definitely had heat exhaustion to the point of like, I couldn't read my GPS anymore.
Yeah, we were getting
delirious. I couldn't comprehend north, south, east, west. I just drive, watch the tracks, and just retrace our steps. But we had been out for like 20 hours, so our steps was like huge swath of desert. But we just happened to find the keys, get back to the truck, drive to a gas station, and we ripped open the drink coolers and literally just sat in them to cool down. But similar story, yeah, where like one of those moments where you're like, wow, I'm really lucky that I found this thing I lost. But branded recruitment, we were talking about that and how important that is for industries, and particularly the mining industry. So you want to talk a little bit about what branded recruitment is and the importance of it? I think that's really critical for especially mining right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I, fortunately, this is something that I kind of can talk about. Like I mentioned, when I met you, I was filling in for Josh. He had a funeral that he had to attend. So I drew the short straw to go and speak at that thing, which ended up being great.
Yeah, it would turn out great. Yeah.
So there's a lot that we do that, I'm not as involved in the day to day. And it sounds like maybe I'm going to get more involved in the day to day, because we're starting to do cooler and cooler stuff that I actually care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes it's funny when I go into the office, and usually like I go into the office and I'm trying to go in there, do what I do, and get out before anybody notices me. But every once in a while I go in and I'm like, wait, what are you guys doing? This looks kind of cool,
Yeah.
So branded recruitment, I guess just for us, our story is we used to have about 16 employees, and we'd all, we paid them decent. We had kind of a lot of hands on deck. And what we sort of realized or sort of noticed is not that we ever really had bad people, but when you have the right people, the exact right people for the job, basically now we have about half that amount of people. We pay them probably about double what we used to. And we're leaner, faster, just our product is better, our service is better, our outcome is better. And you see that sort of repeated in history, like where some of the biggest difference, the biggest differentiator in a lot of industries and a lot of companies is the people that they have.
Oh yeah.
And it's not just about having one great person. That's actually can be really bad. It's about having an A culture. And A players kind of create A culture. How do you attract A players? Right. That's sort of the thing, right? And that's where people, that's where we come in. And so what a lot of people do is they kind of have this job board, like, hey, we're hiring.
Yeah.
But who's looking at a sign that says we're hiring, or who's signing up for job boards or going on, these websites and sort of, hey, I'm available for hire, or what jobs are available. Yeah. It's not A players, right?
You might get lucky, but it's a diamond in the rough situation. Yeah.
Yeah, because most A players are being drafted, right? Yeah. So for us, we kind of take on the role of like, hey, we need to be like college football coaches. College football coaches, like, yes, their job is to coach college football, but a huge, huge, huge part of their job is to recruit, right? And when you look at, I mean, there are countless examples, but like the 90s Bulls, you look at the Bulls had Michael Jordan in the 80s, right? It was when they put a team around him that could create this thing that created this sort of greatest team of all time, which we could get into. That usually starts an argument, or that has started an argument that
I agree with you. So you know,
we're not huge sports fans, so that's totally
fine.
I
mean, definitely like.
Yeah, are you guys Jazz fans?
Yeah, the Jazz are great, of course. here in Utah.
When I was a kid, all I cared about was Michael Jordan. All I wanted to be when I grew up was Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And um, I went to Game 6 of the NBA Finals in 1998 in Salt Lake
Wow.
City against the Jazz, and Michael hit his little push away jumper, won the game, retired from the sport,
Yeah.
and that was like after that I literally quit
That
basketball
would be so
altogether.
cool to be
That's
there.
like the
Yeah.
pinnacle
I
of
mean, that is
basketball.
like for the last
Yeah.
like 3 decades, that's the pinnacle. Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
and that's great. Like the Michael Jackson Michael Jackson. My son's a big Michael Jackson fan. The Michael Jordan
We
documentary
all are.
about the team and how it all came together and the critical roles that everyone played.
It's
It's
actually insane that you're talking about what's that called? What's the documentary called?
The last game?
last game.
The Last
Yeah.
Dance.
Last
Last
Dance.
Dance.
Yeah, that's
Last
right.
Dance. Yeah.
So
I
they named
haven't
it.
seen it, which is absolutely my fifth grade self is screaming right
You
now.
need to watch it. Yeah. I mean, just in terms of like as a fan of Michael Jordan and the Bulls in that time period, it's worth a watch. But looking in terms of leadership,
Yeah.
players, talent,
Strategy.
how a team works together, it's a
Coordination.
masterclass.
Yeah.
It's really good because Michael talks about like the importance of Scottie Pippen and what he did, and the importance of Dennis Rodman and how they all played together and the roles that they played and how they're A players. And
You're giving me goosebumps because I
yeah,
get so
it's really
pumped about it.
good. It's really good. It took me a
So
while to watch it too, and somebody recommended it from a business perspective. Like, you should watch this because you'll learn things that you can use in business, which is interesting.
It's funny because I think everyone, they all know I'm Bulls fan, especially my friends in Salt Lake because they're all Jazz fans.
Of course, yeah.
And I always like to just point out that, we won the most important game in history kind of thing. But they all point like, hey, have you not seen this? It's really good. And I think I haven't watched it because I'm like, dude, it's going to be so nostalgic for me. So I haven't
It will
seen
be,
that,
for
but I'm
sure.
telling you, like as a young kid, and in 98, I was 10. But as a 10-year-old, as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, I was obsessed. Every magazine article that came out, every single game, I had every card. I collected cards. I knew everyone's stats. I had a little sheet where I'd update their stats,
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my gosh.
because they'd have their stats on their card from last season.
Yeah.
But then I would update them as it go, like I was obsessed. And so I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff in that documentary that I wouldn't have been privy to or I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I was so hyper aware, even as a 10-year-old kid, of that whole story. And you're absolutely right. Like that story, as far as talking about recruitment and the importance of A players, even with the other teams that were involved, because there were a lot of teams in the 90s that held strong and they kept their team. They didn't do
yeah.
a ton of, swap back. Like people stuck with their teams. There were a lot of those. And the ones who did stick with their teams were some of the best teams. You'd see them come back and like some of those rivalries even. But yeah, it's so great because you've got a coach, Phil Jackson, that everybody wanted to play for.
Yep.
Everyone was excited to play for him. You've got wild characters like Dennis Rodman, who everyone kind of had to figure out, like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
he's a little bit of a wild character, but he is absolutely incredible at this thing.
Yep.
So let's put him in his lane and let him go. And then you had, the rest of the team. You had Scottie Pippen and obviously Michael and Tony Kukoc. Like that, the whole team, everybody mattered. Everybody really mattered on the team.
Yeah.
And Steve Kerr is now, coaching
Yep.
a phenomenal team. Anyway,
Yeah.
just
you'll like it. Yeah, definitely worth a watch for sure. But yeah, it illustrates really well building A players and an A culture. But like you were talking about, you were able to reduce the size of your team and increase the quality of your output. And we've definitely seen that. Like we have this product we developed called Mineralocity. And it was an idea I had, and it was like, hey, it would be really cool if we could build this thing in the future. And we got lucky. It was a diamond in the rough situation. We recruited this kid, Jake Tanner, and early 20s, fresh out of college, and we brought him in to just do regular GIS stuff, like entry level, build maps and things. And I just talked to him and I was like, hey, you know, someday I want to build this thing. And I was just telling him to kind of share, like, this is something maybe someday we'll figure out how to do. And he went home, worked on it all weekend, and he came in on Monday with a prototype. He did what would have taken a whole team a month in a weekend.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And then it was hard on me as I was the CEO at the time. Crystal's the CEO now. But it was hard on me at the time because I was like, I wasn't ready to take this thing and develop it and build it. But then once it's handed to me, it's like, I got to run with it.
We got to do something.
With still like kind of, that was like 5 years ago. We're still trying to figure out exactly where it fits in the market and get it out there and stuff because it's a SaaS product and we're a consulting firm. But
yeah, but just having that expertise and that kind of database, it's really opened up a lot of doors for us.
Yeah, a huge amount. And then just having that. And so like, we have one A player who really runs that. And so now it's like, what other A players can we put in and build around that in that part of the business? But other parts, I mean, they've found us, and definitely the brand and the culture were a big part of it.
Yeah. So I think, you know, people kind of talk about the cost and they talk about like, they talk like the cost of brand recruitment or the cost of storytelling. There was another guy who talked about, you know, doing social media posts and doing that kind of stuff and how worthless it was at that mining conference. And I completely agreed with him, like on everything that he was saying, because a lot of people, they just want to post on social media for the sake of posting on social media. Right. So they have something cool to show their buddies, which is fine. Cause that's cool, right? Like you want to show your buddies stuff. That's why most people buy boats and a cooler truck and whatever. Right. Like that's okay. Right. That's part of why you work hard and make money and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the cost of not having an attractive story for A players is that you don't recruit A players. Yeah. And so like my hope is that the rest of the story for Mineralocity, is it called?
Mineralocity, yeah, you got it.
My hope for that is it just blows up and it's like your best, you know, it's the coolest thing you've ever done. You're super stoked on it. It makes you a fortune. And because it'll go back to saying like, hey, had we not hired an A player who wasn't hired to do this, I just mentioned it, and all of a sudden he put pressure on me to be better, right? And then I put pressure on the rest of the team, like we have to. And also, like it's something that you're talking about, like, hey, we're not just doing the thing that we know we can go do. It makes us a living. It pays the bill. You know, like we're not just doing that. We're trying to make this thing better. We're trying to innovate. Like that's the stuff that keeps us alive. You know, like the value of all of that. So like the value of that recruit. Or maybe the cost of not making that recruit is incalculable, you know? And also, when you're not around A players, like, just when things get hard, they get way more hard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely felt that.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And
I mean, it's so lovely to like build that culture where you want to go to the office every day. You want to interact with your team every day. You know, that's a huge part of like really honing in on those A players and that culture, because it's a huge majority of your life. So you might as well make it something that you like.
Well,
right?
We changed because we built a good culture and brought in good A players. Our culture changed for the better, where like before our mission was to provide expertise and clarity that helps our clients discover the value of their resource projects.
Boring.
Which is great, but it's boring. But because of the A players and the culture, our culture now is we solve the challenges of mining. And we go in and we find challenges and we solve them, and they're every day.
Oh, they find us.
New. They find us, but we're building a reputation for people who can go solve challenges, and that makes it more exciting to go in the office, because I'm a lot like you are. I mean, sometimes I'll go 2 or 3 months without going in the office. And if I go in, it's quick. I sneak in the back door, grab something, talk to who I need to talk to, and leave. But when we're doing exciting things that I'm excited about, I want to spend time.
You say that right in front of the CEO?
He's the chairman. It's whatever.
I think, you know, that's another huge part of it is like the amount of time, you know, you guys can decide, you can do this math really quickly. But the amount of time that you're going to spend at work in your life is a massive. I have this tattoo that says "Invest your time," and it's one of my favorite ones. And I wish I would have got it somewhere other than the back of my arm that I never see,
I know,
because
it
it's
is
such
fun to
a
see there, yeah.
it's such a great reminder. Like, we can get, time is the most precious commodity that we have. If, as far as mining for something, and precious minerals, time is the one that you have to spend. You
Yep.
don't get to save it. You don't ever get to check your balance and find out how much you have.
Yep.
And a ton of it will be spent at work,
Yep.
doing your job. And when that time doesn't feel like work, it feels like, man, I'm excited to attack challenges with a team, which is like, you're familiar with CrossFit. The reason that CrossFit worked so well is because you go create a community around fitness,
Yep.
and they all like all they talk about is CrossFit, right? CrossFit, like, that's all they like. You always know a CrossFitter because all they talk about is their CrossFit,
'Cause they'll
the
tell
workout
you.
they just did, the one they're going to do.
Their next kettlebell tattoo, where are they going to put it?
Yeah, exactly, right. But what they've done is they've created a culture where people are excited to go in because they want to show off how good they did, or they want to work. They want to work harder. They want to show up more, and they're excited. It's the best hour of their day. And if you can make your work, a great part of your day, or a great part of your, just a happy place to spend your time, or a meaningful place to spend your time, which, by the way, like, the generation that's coming up, that's what they care about. What is the
Yep.
meaning? Why do I care? We talked a lot about that at the mining conference, and you're going to make them care by having meaning, by proving and telling the story of why all of this is meaningful. And if we don't do that, if we who are in charge right now don't do that, then there's not going to be a next thing for us. So I just think, like, beyond even the productivity, I just think, like, the value of C players is X, the value of B players is Y, but the value of A players, like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. We know that the cost of not having A players is huge. And it sounds like, from my understanding, your organization is pretty much riddled with A players. Like, you guys have a bunch of great people who have been around a long time.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, and we hear that when we bring new people in, they often say that this person's the best I've ever seen at this person's the best I've ever seen at that. We hear a lot of superlatives from people who don't hand out superlatives often, which is nice. And I think we've really built a special culture. So now it's like we hire even slower than we did before, because we got to protect that, because it's something that could get destroyed by, like, one bad person, one bad egg. So, like, we've gotten to where we really think a lot more about who we bring in, because it's going to change the mix. We're not just, like, throwing ingredients in a pot and hoping to make soup. We've got world-class award-winning soup. So if we're going to add more salt or pepper or whatever, we got to make sure it's the right call.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the other cool thing about that is, allows you to be the type of person who people want to be around.
Yeah.
Like, or we wouldn't be talking. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's awesome, and you guys get to do a podcast like this.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people right now are sitting there stressed out, flipping through stuff, trying to figure out how they're going to fix the problems that they have. And you guys were sitting on this podcast, hanging out, having a good time. So, I applaud you guys for hiring A players, and you're a great example. It's awesome that we met in a hot tub, and now we're hanging out on this podcast. I think we should do it again anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it'd be really good.
About
yeah,
it.
There's tons of other tangents, things that I think would be interesting. The mining industry, you talked about companies being really slow to pick up on Facebook and social media. The mining industry is, like, just barely getting around to going, oh, if we don't tell our story, everyone else is going to tell it for us. And it's like,
those aren't the people you
getting
want
to
telling
that
your
now,
story.
and it's like, wow, okay, it's 20 years late, but we need to get on it now. And so, especially, like, mining engineering in the United States, Canada, and Australia, all-time low. They're graduating, like, double-digit students nationwide, where it used to be hundreds. Geologists, a lot of them are going into, like, environmental or not even pursuing it at all. So there's this huge gap. And then, like, executives, like business people who understand mining, like, there's a handful. Like I know probably, like, it's crazy because it's a huge global industry. I probably personally know 10% of the decision makers in the world.
Yeah.
Like it's
Wow.
that small of a thing, and most of them are in their 80s, 70s, and 80s. So it's like there's a huge thing there, and I think that brand recruitment and telling the story is so key. So I think we definitely need to have a follow-up discussion about that. It could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's wild how little, how much and how little we can get into in 40 some minutes we've been going.
Scratching the
I,
surface.
I and I fully agree, and I think that's a conversation that everybody should be having.
Yep.
I think that's a conversation that, like, if I'm going to say we, because I mean, my grandpa ran a mine. He was a mine manager at Decker Coal here.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so when I have such firsthand experience, because when sort of that job and that industry and that path, that career path was pitched to me, I was like, nope, that
Yep.
sounds terrible, Grandpa.
Yeah.
He kind of, well, I work too much and I don't get paid enough.
Yep.
And and I'm like, yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound cool. I want to see the world. I want to
Yeah.
dance. I
Yeah.
want to tell my story. I want to whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what kids want to do. Like, kids want to be, a lot of kids now that, they talk a lot about, like, kids are saying, I want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what are we putting on YouTube that they might watch where they go, this looks really cool?
Yeah.
Or what, just what story are we telling? And I wish that I could form some governing body that would tax every mining company a little bit, and we'd all put together, and we would be responsible for going and telling the story of the industry.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't actually believe that, because I don't believe in communism, but
Right.
but for me, I'm like, hey, there's a story to tell here.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody has. You guys are doing this podcast, which is incredible, because this is what it is. It's
Yep.
storytelling and sharing stories and creating connection, which is also something that youth cares about.
Yeah. For
Even
sure.
like our people care about. Community is it's a need. People need that as much as they need all the rest of the things in life. You need the why. So
Absolutely,
yeah, I know you got to go get your kiddo.
It's
And
baseball time. Yeah.
That's right.
it's Ken Griffey baseball time, which is
Yep.
awesome that I kept track of time, because I'm usually the
You
worst at
did
that
great.
ever.
Yeah, I was the one that gonna keep going, which I'm guilty of as well sometimes. So.
But you guys all, Crystal, it's awesome to meet you.
Yeah,
And,
likewise.
And I'm totally down to do that. I love podcasts. Just so you guys know, like, for me, my favorite thing in the world is being around a campfire and just having conversations.
Yeah.
And this, to me, is like the digital equivalent, the next best thing that we sort of have at our fingernails. And,
Yep.
and so, yeah, anytime you guys want to jump on and jam, and if you guys want to pick a single topic, or if you want to go into something like, hey, let's specifically talk about this.
Cool.
I'm so down. As you can tell, I
That'd be
talk
awesome.
a lot and I get excited about this
Yeah.
stuff. So
No, it'd be great. It'd be great to really get around a campfire too. I was pretty big into scouting as a kid, and and it varies depending on the quality of the leaders. But I had
Yeah.
some really good leaders where we had a lot of campouts, and they, like, some of them wouldn't make us go to bed at a certain time. We'd stay up till like 2, 3 in the morning chatting around
Yeah.
the campfire, and we did that for years. Like Crystal and I, when we started the company, we couldn't afford hotels or anything. So we would
Yep.
literally, like, sleep in the back of the truck, sleep on the ground, sleep in a tent. And so we had dinner every day after a hard day work around the campfire. And so that's
So awesome.
what we've done a lot of. And so
Good
I
old
miss
days.
that. I really do. I mean, we used to do
dude,
that
you got to tell that story, because that's
2,
what
3 times a week. And now we don't do it at all. So
kids now, they want to go camping all the time.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine owns Go Fast Campers. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, GFC, his name's Graham, and they crush it. They sell so many. Everybody wants to have one of those, and they just want to go out. And I don't know if I told you, I live in a van for like 4 or 5 months out of the year,
Nice.
Oh, wow.
because I just travel all
Yeah.
the time. I'm constantly traveling. So
Yeah.
yeah, dude. If it's a fire, if it's a campfire, if it's a podcast, you guys holler at me. I'm all in. Also, I think you guys should tell more of that story, because I think a lot of kids now are like, hey, I just want to go camping. And like, you could start a business or you could join a business and you could go camping. And probably a lot of people would
Our
love
field
to
guys
hire
go
you.
camping all the time.
Our field techs go camping all the time. We send people out to go camping and hiking, and they get paid well to camp and hike.
Dude.
Very well.
That's their primary job function, really.
If I'm a phenomenal camper and hiker. So if that's something that you guys are hiring for, I would like to submit
You have
an
to
application.
interview with our field managers. We don't do those
And
interviews.
he's great.
Yeah.
We've got a really good guy.
He's an A player because he sets a high standard. I don't
Super
even know
high
if like
standard.
we'd make the cut.
Yeah, he sets a really high
Like,
standard.
sorry
but,
guys, you're too fat and slow.
But I mean, they do we did a claims. We've done a couple claim staking projects where they fly a helicopter to the top of a mountain and they ski down and put stakes in the ground as they go.
Oh, dude.
Man, they're badass.
They get
It's
paid to
crazy.
do that. They rappel into abandoned mines sometimes to take samples and map. They
Which you used to do that, right?
put
Yeah.
stakes in the field. Yeah, that's what we started. That was our primary business, was
Abandoned mine exploration.
rappelling into abandoned mines and the dangerous ones that everyone else is afraid to go into.
You guys are so cool.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. Anyway, we let's do this again. Let's pick some topics. You kind of, we sort of got into my story a little bit. We talked a little bit about your story, but I would love to, I'd love to chat more. I would do this literally anytime. I would do this every day. I love this stuff. I love chatting with people. I love hearing people's stories, and I just like put these things together. And I think that this type of stuff is a piece of what sort of we all need to be doing if we want to keep A players funneling into our industry. So anyway,
Totally.
I'm all in.
Well, thanks
Awesome.
for joining us, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right, we'll see ya.